My beloved child, be still for a moment and listen carefully. Before you move on to the next thing demanding your attention, before your thoughts rush ahead to everything waiting for you today, I want you to pause here with me. There is a reason your eyes have found these words at this exact moment. There is a reason your heart feels drawn to stay just a little longer. And there is a reason that, out of countless voices competing for your attention, this moment has been placed directly in front of you. You may think it is ordinary. You may think it is coincidence. You may even tell yourself that it happened by chance. But deep within your spirit, there is a quiet awareness that something about this moment feels different. Something about this feels personal. Something about this feels as though it was waiting for you long before you arrived. My child, I want you to know that I have always been aware of where you are, what you carry, and what questions have been living silently inside your heart. I have seen the things you have never spoken aloud. I have seen the concerns you hide behind your smile. I have seen the moments when you felt strong on the outside but exhausted within. I have watched you keep moving forward, even when you felt uncertain about the road ahead. And because I have seen all of it, I am speaking to you now with tenderness, purpose, and love. This is not a random interruption. This is a divine appointment. Long before this day arrived, I knew where you would be. Long before this hour appeared on the calendar, I knew what your heart would need. Long before you wondered whether I still saw you, I had already prepared this moment to remind you that I have never stopped watching over you. Sometimes you ask why certain things happen when they do. Sometimes you wonder why doors open unexpectedly, or why certain words seem to reach you at exactly the right time. The answer is that I am far more involved in your story than you realize. I am present in moments you overlook. I am working in ways you cannot always see. And I often place reminders of my love directly in your path when your heart needs them most. That is why I do not want you to rush through this moment. There are times when heaven whispers softly instead of speaking loudly. There are moments when my guidance comes not through dramatic signs, but through a gentle invitation to stop, listen, and receive. This is one of those moments. My child, you have been searching for clarity about things you cannot fully understand yet. You have been carrying questions that have remained unanswered. You have wondered whether your waiting has meaning. You have wondered whether your prayers still matter. You have wondered whether the desires buried deep within your heart have been forgotten. But I tell you now that nothing entrusted to me is ever forgotten. Not a prayer, not a tear, not a hope, not a dream that was placed within you by my hand. Everything is known to me. Everything matters to me. And even when you cannot see what I am doing, I am still working faithfully behind the scenes of your life. There is a hidden message within this moment, and it is not one of fear. It is not one of condemnation. It is not a message meant to make you anxious about the future. It is a message of attention, a message of invitation, a message that gently awakens your spirit and reminds you that your story is still unfolding under my care. Too often you look at your circumstances and assume they tell the whole story. Too often you look at delays and think they mean abandonment. Too often you look at uncertainty and think it means absence. But my child, there is always more happening than what your eyes can see. There are seasons when I am quietly preparing what only time can reveal. There are seasons when I am strengthening roots before growth becomes visible. There are seasons when I am arranging details that will only make sense when you look back and see my hand guiding you through every step. This is why I have brought you to this moment. Not to overwhelm you, not to pressure you, but to awaken your awareness of my presence. I want you to recognize that I am closer than you think. I want you to remember that your life is not drifting without purpose. I want you to understand that there is meaning in your journey, even in the chapters that seem unclear. And I want you to know that the timing of my love is never accidental. Every moment I place before you carries purpose. Every reminder I send carries intention. Every invitation I extend carries grace. So stay here with me for a little while longer, my child. Let your heart become still. Let your worries loosen their grip. Let your spirit breathe again. You do not need all the answers right now. You do not need to understand every detail of what lies ahead. You only need to know this one truth. You are here for a reason. You are seen. You are known. You are deeply loved. And this moment has been placed before you by the one who has never stopped walking beside you. And perhaps, my child, one of the hardest things for you to admit is not that life has been difficult, but that you have become tired in ways no one else can see. Not just physically tired after a long day, not just mentally tired from responsibilities and decisions, but deeply tired within your soul. There is a kind of exhaustion that does not come from what you do, it comes from what you carry. And you have been carrying so much for so long. I see the hidden burden you rarely talk about. I see the weight of expectations resting on your shoulders, the pressure to keep going, the pressure to stay strong, the pressure to hold everything together even when part of you feels like you are falling apart inside. There have been days when you smiled for others, while quietly fighting battles no one knew existed. There have been moments when people looked at you and assumed you were doing well. Yet beneath the surface, your heart was asking how much longer you could keep carrying everything alone. I know those moments. I was there for every one of them. I know about the thoughts that keep circling through your mind long after the world has gone quiet. I know about the worries you replay over and over, hoping somehow they will solve themselves. I know about the questions that have remained unanswered, the disappointments you never fully healed from, the conversations you still revisit in your memory. The mistakes you wish you could undo, the opportunities you believe you missed, the people you loved who changed, the dreams that did not unfold the way you expected. All of these things have been sitting quietly inside your heart, taking up more space than you realize. My child, there are wounds that do not bleed, yet they still hurt. There are struggles that leave no visible mark, yet they drain your strength day after day. There are seasons when emotional fatigue becomes so familiar that you stop noticing how heavy it has become. You simply learn how to function with it. You learn how to wake up and keep moving. You learn how to answer questions with polite smiles. You learn how to say you are fine when what you really feel is weary. You learn how to carry silent struggles so well that even those closest to you may never recognize the depth of your pain. But I see it. I see the hidden sadness that sometimes appears for reasons you cannot explain. I see the loneliness that visits even when you are surrounded by people. I see the discouragement that whispers that nothing will ever change. I see the emotional fatigue that settles over your heart when you have hoped for something for so long and still cannot see the outcome. I know how exhausting it can be to keep believing when answers seem delayed. I know how tiring it can be to keep giving when you feel empty yourself. I know how difficult it can be to remain hopeful when disappointment has become a familiar companion. And perhaps what has exhausted you most is not one single event, but the accumulation of many small burdens carried over time. Little hurts, little fears, little disappointments, little uncertainties, one after another, day after day, until the weight became greater than you realized. My beloved child, there have been moments when you questioned yourself more harshly than anyone else ever could. Moments when you wondered whether you were enough, whether you had failed, whether you had missed your chance, whether anyone truly understood what you were carrying. Those questions have lingered in quiet places within your heart, and though you rarely speak them aloud, they have taken energy from you. They have stolen peace from you. They have made the road feel longer than it truly is. I know you have tried to be brave. I know you have tried to keep moving forward. I know you have done your best with what you had. But I also know there is a part of you that feels tired of pretending everything is fine. A part of you that longs to set down the burden, even if only for a moment. A part of you that longs to be understood without having to explain every detail, and that is why I am speaking to you now. Not to correct you, not to pressure you, not to demand anything from you, but simply to let you know that your hidden pain has not gone unnoticed. Your silent struggle has not been invisible. Your exhaustion has not been ignored. I see every burden you carry, even the ones you have never found words to describe. And when a burden remains on your shoulders for a long time, my child, something else often begins to happen quietly beneath the surface. The pain no longer feels like something you are carrying. It starts to feel like something that defines you. Little by little, without realizing it, you begin believing things that were never true about you. Not because you wanted to believe them, not because you chose them, but because disappointment repeated itself often enough that the lie began to sound familiar. and familiarity can sometimes disguise itself as truth. I know the thoughts that have visited you in the quiet moments. I know the fears that have whispered to you when no one else was around. Some of them arrived after prayers seemed unanswered. Some arrived after doors remained closed. Some arrived after people disappointed you. Some arrived after you gave your best and still felt unseen. At first, they were only passing thoughts, but over time they began building a home in places within your heart. One of those lies says that you have been forgotten. You may not say those exact words out loud, but there have been moments when you felt them. Moments when you looked around and wondered why others seemed to move forward while you remained waiting. Moments when you questioned whether anyone truly saw your struggle. Moments when silence felt so long that you wondered whether heaven had overlooked your name. My beloved child, that false belief has been stealing more peace from you than you realize. Another lie says that you are not enough, not strong enough, not capable enough, not worthy enough, not faithful enough. It tells you that if you had done better, everything would be different. It tells you that your weaknesses disqualify you. It tells you that your failures define your future. It tells you that everyone else has something you lack. And because you have listened to that voice for so long, you have started measuring yourself against standards I never created. You have been carrying expectations that were never placed on you by me. Then there is the lie that says nothing will ever change. This one often disguises itself as realism. It tells you that hope is dangerous. It tells you that disappointment is inevitable. It tells you that protecting your heart means expecting less from life. It tells you not to dream too much, trust too much, or believe too much because you might get hurt again. And so, little by little, fear begins making decisions that faith was meant to make. Self-doubt begins speaking louder than hope. Weariness begins shaping your perspective. What began as pain slowly becomes a lens through which you see everything. My child, I know how convincing these voices can sound when you are exhausted. Emotional fatigue has a way of making every mountain look bigger and every promise look farther away. When your heart is tired, even small fears can feel enormous. When you have been waiting a long time, even a small delay can feel permanent. When you have been wounded, even kindness can feel difficult to trust. But I want you to notice something. These voices always leave you feeling smaller. They always leave you feeling trapped. They always leave you feeling alone. They point you toward fear, shame, and hopelessness. They convince you to question your value. They convince you to question your future. They even convince you to question whether you are loved. And perhaps the most painful part is that you have become so accustomed to hearing them that you sometimes mistake them for your own thoughts. Yet beneath all the noise, beneath all the fear, beneath all the self-doubt, there remains something deeper within you. A quiet place that still longs for truth. A quiet place that still hopes. A quiet place that has not completely surrendered to despair. I see that place, my child. Even now, when you feel uncertain. Even now, when questions remain. Even now, when the false beliefs seem stronger than your confidence. I see the part of your heart that is still searching for something greater than fear, something stronger than doubt, and something more enduring than the lies you have slowly started believing. And this is where I want you to look through my eyes for a moment, my child, because what you see when you look at yourself is often very different from what I see when I look at you. You see delays and wonder if you are falling behind. I see perseverance being formed where shortcuts could never take root. You see unanswered questions and assume something is wrong. I see a heart that has continued seeking even when certainty was unavailable. You see weakness. I see courage that has survived days you thought would break you. You see how many times you stumbled. I see how many times you stood back up. You see what is unfinished. I see what is becoming. So much of your discouragement has come from measuring yourself by visible results alone. You look at where you hope to be by now. You compare it to where you are. And then you quietly conclude that you have failed, that you should be further ahead, stronger, happier, more accomplished, more certain. But my beloved child, I do not measure your life the way the world does. I do not measure your worth by how quickly things happen. I do not measure your value by how many achievements you collect. I do not measure your future by your current circumstances. I see deeper than appearances. I see the unseen growth that has been taking place beneath the surface. I see the compassion that was born through seasons of pain. I see the wisdom that developed through disappointment. I see the patience that emerged through waiting. I see the strength that formed while you were convinced you were weak. There have been moments when you thought nothing was changing, yet even then, growth was happening. Consider a seed hidden beneath the soil. For a long time it appears as though nothing is happening at all. No visible progress, no outward evidence, no sign that life exists beneath the surface. But hidden from view, roots are forming. Strength is developing. Preparation is taking place. And what appears inactive is actually becoming ready for future growth. My child, there have been seasons of your life that looked empty to you but were never empty to me. There were seasons when you felt forgotten, yet I was strengthening foundations. There were seasons when you felt overlooked, yet I was shaping your character. There were seasons when you thought you were standing still, yet I was leading you in ways you could not yet recognize. You have been far more resilient than you realize. You have survived disappointments that could have made you bitter. You have endured uncertainty that could have stolen your faith completely. You have walked through lonely places and still carried kindness within your heart. You have continued moving forward even when your confidence was fragile. You call that weakness. I call it hidden strength. You call it barely holding on. I call it faith refusing to disappear. You call it exhaustion. I call it evidence that you have been carrying more than most people know. And perhaps what surprises you most is that I do not look at you with disappointment. I do not look at you with frustration. I do not focus on every flaw you notice in yourself. When I look at you, I see someone deeply loved. I see someone still growing. I see someone whose story is not finished. I see someone who has endured far more than they give themselves credit for. I see someone whose heart still longs for truth despite the pain. I see someone whose future contains possibilities they cannot yet imagine. My beloved child, there is a reason I have not given up on you. It is because there is nothing about your current struggle that surprises me. I knew every challenge before it arrived. I knew every tear before it fell. I knew every fear before it entered your thoughts. And still I chose to walk beside you. Still I called you mine. Still I remain near. So when you look at yourself, do not only look through the lens of fear, failure, or self-doubt. Remember that there is another perspective. There is my perspective. And from where I stand, I do not see a forgotten person. I see a growing one. I do not see a defeated person. I see a resilient one. I do not see a life abandoned. I see a life being carefully guided, lovingly shaped, and quietly prepared for more than it can currently understand. And perhaps now, my child, you are beginning to understand something that has been difficult to accept for a very long time. The waiting season was never meant to convince you that I had forgotten you. Yet I know that many times it felt that way. I know there were moments when you looked at the passing months, the passing years, and wondered why things seemed to move so slowly. You prayed, you hoped, you trusted, and still the answer did not arrive when you expected. The opportunity did not appear when you imagined. The breakthrough did not unfold according to your timeline. And because you could not see what was happening beneath the surface, the waiting began to feel empty. But my beloved child, waiting is not the same as being abandoned. Waiting is not the same as being ignored. Waiting is not evidence that nothing is happening. In many of the most important seasons of life, the greatest work takes place where human eyes cannot see it. Think of a seed planted deep beneath the soil. The person standing above the ground may see nothing. Day after day, the surface appears unchanged. There is no visible growth, no evidence of progress, no sign that life is developing. Yet underneath, something remarkable is taking place. Roots are stretching deeper, strength is forming, stability is being established. The seed is not wasting time, it is preparing for what comes next. My child, there have been seasons when your life looked much like that seed. You focused on what was not happening above the surface, while I was working carefully beneath it. You were looking for visible results. I was building invisible foundations. You were looking for immediate answers. I was preparing lasting growth. You were asking why the door remained closed. I was strengthening you for what waited beyond that door. There are blessings that arrive quickly, but there are also callings, opportunities, relationships, and assignments that require deeper roots before they can be sustained. If a tree grows tall without strong roots, the first strong storm can uproot it. That is why roots matter. That is why preparation matters. That is why process matters. The waiting season is often where roots grow deepest. I know you wanted the fruit. I know you wanted the answer. I know you wanted clarity. But many times, before fruit appears, roots must first go deeper than you expected. Before the harvest comes, there is a season of planting. Before spring arrives, there is often a season that feels quiet and hidden. Nature itself reflects this truth. Every season serves a purpose. Winter is not failure because flowers are absent. Autumn is not failure because leaves fall away. Every season carries preparation for the next. In the same way, the season you have been walking through has carried purpose even when it felt difficult to understand. The waiting has been teaching patience where anxiety once ruled. The waiting has been teaching trust where certainty was unavailable. The waiting has been revealing what truly matters and what only appeared important. The waiting has been strengthening muscles of faith that comfort alone could never develop. My beloved child, if I had given you everything the moment you first asked, you might have received the gift, but missed the growth. You might have reached the destination without developing the strength required for the journey ahead. But because I love you, I care about more than the outcome. I care about who you are becoming. I care about the condition of your heart. I care about the roots that will sustain you long after the blessing arrives. So do not despise the process. Do not assume the waiting was wasted. Do not believe that the quiet seasons were empty. Every prayer mattered. Every tear mattered. Every lesson mattered. Every moment of growth mattered. Even now, there are things being prepared that you cannot fully see. Even now, roots are stronger than they were before. Even now, your life is carrying more unseen growth than you realize. And one day you will look back and understand that what felt like delay was often preparation, what felt like silence was often development, and what felt like waiting was actually the careful work of love, unfolding in ways only time could reveal. And as the process continues, my child, there is another question worth asking. If the waiting season is not merely about what you are hoping to receive, then what is it producing within you? What kind of person are you becoming while the answers are still unfolding? This is where many people miss the deeper work taking place. They focus so completely on the destination that they overlook the transformation happening during the journey. Yet some of the most valuable things in your life are not the things that arrive at the end of the process. They are the qualities being formed within you along the way. You may not notice them every day because growth often happens gradually. It develops quietly, almost invisibly, through ordinary moments, difficult seasons, unexpected challenges, and long stretches of uncertainty. But if you could step back and look at your journey through a wider lens, you would begin to recognize changes that were not present before. You are not the same person you were when this season began. There is wisdom growing within you. Wisdom is not simply knowledge. Wisdom is what develops when experience teaches lessons that information alone never could. There are things you understand now about life, people, priorities, and faith that you could not have understood years ago. The journey itself has become a teacher. The disappointments taught discernment. The setbacks taught perspective. The waiting taught patience. The unexpected turns taught flexibility. Even the difficult chapters carried lessons that continue shaping the person you are becoming. There is also resilience growing within you. You may not always feel strong, but resilience is not the absence of struggle. It is the ability to continue moving forward through struggle. Every challenge you have faced and survived has added another layer of strength. Every obstacle you navigated has increased your capacity to endure. Every season that required perseverance has strengthened muscles of character that comfort alone could never build. There were days when you thought you could not continue, yet somehow you did. There were moments when uncertainty surrounded you, yet you kept taking one step at a time. That quiet persistence matters more than you realize. Then there is patience. Patience is often misunderstood because people assume it means simply waiting. But true patience is not passive. It is active trust in the middle of uncertainty. It is learning how to remain steady when immediate answers are unavailable. It is learning how to resist the temptation to force what is not ready. It is learning how to live faithfully within the present moment, rather than constantly chasing what comes next. Patience creates stability within the heart, and stability becomes a source of peace during seasons that might otherwise feel overwhelming. Another gift being formed within you is compassion. Pain has a unique way of deepening compassion when it does not harden the heart. Because of what you have experienced, you now understand struggles that once seemed distant. You recognize pain in others more quickly. You listen more carefully. You extend grace more freely. You have become capable of offering comfort in ways that only someone who has walked through difficulty can provide. The challenges that once seemed determined to diminish you have also expanded your capacity to care for others. My child, the person emerging from this season is not merely someone waiting for circumstances to change. The person emerging from this season is someone developing greater wisdom, deeper resilience, stronger patience, and richer compassion. These qualities are not temporary. They become part of who you are. Long after specific problems pass, long after certain questions are answered, these inner treasures remain. And one day you may discover that some of the most meaningful growth in your life did not happen when everything went according to plan. It happened during the very seasons you once wished away. It happened while you were learning endurance. It happened while you were learning trust. It happened while your character was being shaped into something stronger, steadier, wiser, and more beautiful than you could yet recognize. The process has been doing more than preparing your future. It has been quietly transforming the person who will walk into it. And now, my child, after everything you have carried, everything you have questioned, everything you have endured, there comes a gentle invitation before you. Not a demand, not a burden, not another weight to place upon your shoulders. An invitation. Because there are moments in life when the greatest changes do not begin with striving harder. They begin with releasing what was never meant to be carried any longer. You have spent so much time trying to hold everything together, trying to predict outcomes, trying to protect yourself from disappointment, trying to control situations that have always been beyond your reach. And in the process, your hands have become full. Your heart has become tired. Your spirit has become weary from carrying responsibilities that were never yours alone to bear. So I invite you now to let go of what fear has convinced you must remain in your control. Let go of the endless need to have every answer before taking the next step. Let go of the belief that your future depends entirely upon your own strength. Let go of the pressure to solve everything immediately. There is freedom waiting on the other side of surrender. Not surrender to hopelessness, not surrender to defeat, but surrender to trust. Trust that you do not have to see the entire path in order to take the next faithful step. Trust that growth is still unfolding, even when progress feels slow. Trust that the story is larger than the chapter you are currently living through. And there may be something else you need to release as well. Perhaps it is an old disappointment that still occupies space within your heart. Perhaps it is resentment towards someone who wounded you. Perhaps it is regret over choices you wish you could change. Perhaps it is anger towards circumstances that did not unfold the way you hoped. My child, carrying these things for too long can quietly drain the strength needed for the journey ahead. Forgiveness does not mean pretending the hurt never happened. It does not mean calling wrong things right. It simply means refusing to allow yesterday's pain to continue ruling today's heart. There is healing that begins when you loosen your grip on what has already passed. There is peace that begins when you stop fighting battles that no longer belong to you. There is strength that returns when your energy is no longer consumed by carrying old burdens into every new season. I also invite you to trust the process that is still unfolding around you. You do not need to rush ahead. You do not need to force open doors. You do not need to manufacture outcomes through anxiety and pressure. There is wisdom in taking one step at a time. There is wisdom in remaining faithful in the present moment. There is wisdom in allowing patience to complete its work. Sometimes the next step is not a dramatic action. Sometimes it is simply choosing trust over fear, choosing peace over panic, choosing faith over self-doubt, choosing hope over discouragement. These decisions may seem small, but they shape the direction of the heart more than you realize. My beloved child, this invitation is simple. Release what is weighing you down. Forgive what continues to wound you. Surrender what you cannot control. Trust what you cannot yet see. And continue walking forward with an open heart. You do not have to carry tomorrow before it arrives. You do not have to solve every uncertainty today. You only need the courage to take the next step with faith, the humility to place your concerns into capable hands, and the willingness to believe that the road ahead contains more purpose, more growth, and more hope than fear has allowed you to imagine. And as you continue forward, my child, there is something important I want you to remember. The future is often growing long before it becomes visible. Many people assume that a new chapter begins the moment circumstances change, but often a new chapter begins much earlier, in the quiet places of the heart. It begins when hope starts returning after a season of discouragement. It begins when trust becomes stronger than fear. It begins when you stop defining your future by your past. Right now, there are things ahead of you that you cannot fully see. Not because they are being withheld from you, but because life unfolds one step at a time. If you could see every detail of the road ahead, there would be no need for faith. There would be no room for trust. There would be no opportunity to discover how capable you have become. Yet, even without seeing everything, you can move forward with confidence because the story is still unfolding. There are opportunities that have not yet crossed your path. There are conversations that have not yet happened. There are doors that have not yet opened. There are moments of restoration that are still making their way toward you through circumstances you cannot presently understand. This does not mean every day ahead will be easy. It does not mean every challenge will disappear. But it does mean that your current chapter is not the final chapter. Too often fear tries to convince you that the future will simply repeat the pain of the past. Fear points backward and says, "Look what happened before." Fear assumes that yesterday will always control tomorrow. But growth changes people. Healing changes people. Wisdom changes people. The person walking into the future is not the same person who entered this season. You have learned things. You have developed strength. You have gained perspective. You have become more prepared than you realize. That is why the future does not need to be feared. It can be approached with expectation. My child, imagine a traveler standing before sunrise. The darkness may still cover the horizon, yet the first light is already approaching. The traveler cannot see the entire landscape, but that does not mean the sun is not rising. In the same way, there are areas of your life where light is gradually increasing, even if you cannot yet see the full picture. Small changes often arrive before major transformations. Quiet restoration often begins before visible breakthrough. New possibilities often develop long before they can be recognized. There are dreams within you that may look forgotten, yet they are not necessarily finished. There are hopes you set aside because disappointment became too heavy, yet possibility remains larger than your current perspective. There are gifts within you that still have room to grow. There are strengths within you that have not yet reached their full purpose. The road ahead contains opportunities for renewal, opportunities for growth, opportunities for meaningful connection, opportunities to become even more fully the person you were created to be. So do not assume that what you currently see is all there is. Do not mistake the present moment for the entire story. Keep your heart open to possibility. Keep your spirit receptive to new beginnings. Keep moving forward with quiet confidence. A new chapter does not always arrive with noise and certainty. Sometimes it arrives gently, one step at a time, one opportunity at a time, one act of faith at a time. And as that chapter unfolds, you may discover that restoration was happening long before you recognized it, that breakthrough was developing beneath the surface, and that the future waiting ahead carried more hope, more purpose, and more beauty than you dared to imagine. And now, my child, as this moment gently comes to a close, I do not want you to leave carrying the same weight you brought with you. I do not want you to walk away still believing that your story is defined by fear, delay, disappointment, or uncertainty. Instead, I want you to carry something different. I want you to carry the quiet truth that growth has been taking place even when you could not see it. I want you to carry the reminder that difficult seasons do not last forever. I want you to carry the understanding that what felt confusing was not without purpose, what felt slow was not without meaning, and what felt hidden was not without value. Take with you the wisdom you have gained. Take with you the resilience that has been forged through challenges. Take with you the patience that has been developed through waiting. Take with you the compassion that has grown through your own experiences. These things are not small. They are treasures formed within your heart. They are evidence that you have not been standing still. They are evidence that the journey has been shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more prepared than you realize. My beloved child, there will still be days when questions remain. There will still be moments when the road ahead is not completely clear. There will still be seasons when you wish you could see farther than you can. But when those moments come, remember what you have learned. Remember that roots grow before fruit appears. Remember that preparation often happens before opportunity arrives. Remember that growth often takes place before it becomes visible. Remember that hope is not built upon perfect circumstances. Hope is built upon the confidence that every season carries purpose, even when that purpose is not immediately understood. Let your heart rest. Let your thoughts become quiet. Let your spirit breathe again. You do not need to carry tomorrow today. You do not need to solve every problem before night falls. You do not need to force your future into existence. One faithful step is enough. One day at a time is enough. One act of trust is enough. Peace often arrives when you stop demanding certainty and begin embracing the grace available in the present moment. So I bless you with peace for the road ahead, peace for the questions that remain unanswered, peace for the seasons still unfolding, peace for the dreams that are still developing beneath the surface. May your heart be strengthened when discouragement tries to return. May your mind be steady when uncertainty appears. May your spirit remain anchored in hope when the path feels long. May you continue moving forward with courage, patience, and quiet confidence. And when you look back someday, may you recognize that even the chapters you once struggled to understand were contributing to a story far more beautiful than you imagined. My child, do not forget this truth. You are not defined by the season you are in. You are not defined by the mistakes you made. You are not defined by the fears you fight. You are not defined by the delays you have endured. You are being shaped by a purpose larger than your present circumstances and guided through a journey that is still unfolding. So leave this moment with your head lifted, your heart lighter, and your spirit at rest. The road ahead may still hold surprises, but you do not need to fear them. Walk forward in peace. Walk forward in hope. Walk forward with confidence. And remember this simple truth whenever doubt tries to return. What is growing beneath the surface is often greater than what you can currently see.